Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 58 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. I'm Michael Palisak, and I just got my kid to sleep yesterday. A daytime recording. Again, I think I'm probably going to get to go back to nighttime recordings either next week when I get my life together or never. No, I think it'll be when he goes into first grade because he'll start school a little earlier and there's no naps. I think he just feels it. Last night I was really focused. I was like, let's shorten it up. Let's tighten it up. Let's get this bedtime routine really short. And he didn't see the point of that. Really, I knew that I was doing my job. Man, I do look like I just woke up. I also did. I did try to take a nap. Naps aren't just for kids. That's the number one lesson. So I knew I was doing my part of the deal as a parent when it got to the point where I was like, let's bath time, let's go. I try not to be like bath time. I feel like that's a little bit like a little rough. Bath, let's get in the bath. No, I feel like even if I have to say it a bunch of times, I'm not gonna be like no, because then it's like he's doing it because he's scared, and isn't that what like war criminals do? So I was like bath time, like an enthusiastic basketball coach, like bath time. All right, here we go. We're doing drills, and we're bath time. Okay. And I always try to do a deal. Like if he's like, can I do this a little longer? I'm like, you can do that. You can. And I look him in the eyes, and I say, you can, yeah, you can play with this a little bit longer. You can do that. But you know what? You're gonna have to take a really fast bath. And it never works, but it does make me feel like I'm standing up for myself. Like I feel like when we're in the bath and I'm moving it along, then and he's like, no, I can be like, no, but you said earlier that we would take a fast bath. And I realize as a parent you shouldn't need justification. Like it's not court, but it does feel nice having it there. I'm not gonna lie. Like I have a friend who's got multiple kids, and it sounds like it's a tight ship. They run a tight ship, and I think that's really good. But if you don't have that, you gotta find a way to work it in. So, anyways, I was doing my job. I was like, all right, bath time. All right, dinner time. All right, let's go. Here we go. Oh, I should drink water before I start recording. Why is that so hard? Why is it so hard to drink water? Also, it sounds like I'm drinking out of a bucket. This is Trader Joe's Mountain Spring Water. I support the Trader Joe's Mountain Spring Water because last week I got the green mini pastel. See? Tote bag. Mint green, going for $1 million on eBay. Also for $30. Don't you love it how I don't know if you know this. I bring it up again because this episode last week did really well when I held up a Trader Joe's bag. No, I think it's interesting because the news stories are like, those are going for like $500 or like $1 million, one article said. But then if you look it up for real, you can get them for 30. So I feel like that's a good marketing technique. Like if you have a thing, if you want to get your name out there, have like a collectible thing and be like, people are paying $1 million, and then put it online for like $1 million. Have someone buy it for $1 million. So basically, just cost you the fee, the eBay fee, and then I get sold for $1 million. These shirts sold for $1 million. I should get my merch and do that. This shirt sold for $500 on the internet. I did put it up there and buy it from myself, but the resale, I think you can't. I think it's only funny if you say it, but if you give away the secret, it's not gonna be as successful. But these guys, they are worth more than I paid. $3, mint green. I don't think it's for sale. I just like knowing that I have it by accident. I was just grocery shopping that day. Not that I won't wait in line for stuff. I'll wait in line for stuff. So, where was I? Yeah, I feel like I'm doing my job as a parent, right? Parents can can relate to this, and non-parents probably. When I was a kid, I don't remember it ever being a big debate. I feel like I was the middle child, so maybe my older brother at one point didn't want to go to bed, and then something happened, and we all just fell in line. Which that's another way. So I remember, so I felt like I was doing my job because it got to the point where I was like, all right, bath time, bath time, bath time. And Jack was like, well, we should practice reading. That's when I know you got to meet me halfway. You know, like when he's bringing up doing homework to stay up later, then, that's a good place for me as a parent. That means I've really, really kept it going. He feels like he shouldn't go to bed yet because we normally don't. And he's just like, all right, homework. We'll do. He didn't even ask to watch. He was like, let's do homework. And then he pretended to struggle at reading for like 30 minutes. He's in kindergarten, so I don't think I was really pretending. But like, I don't know why the teachers do that. The teachers, it's a very good school. I'm very happy, especially if they're listening. But like, he learns stuff at school, right? And he has homework that he can do and I can help him out with. But then they just send like little books home with him to read. And they're like, just read this. And then we go to read it and he doesn't know the words. And I'm like, well, I'm not a teacher. Like, not that I don't want to teach, but I don't know how to, I know how to be like, I can tell you the words, but I'm pretty sure that's not teaching. And so we were just like sounding out word. I felt like I was teaching someone to read for someone that didn't know how to teach someone how to read. Like I was have you ever tried to reverse engineer reading? Like, I don't know. I like any word, really. Like there was a word, I forget what, it was he. Think about trying to learn how to read he. Do you just memorize it and remember it forever? Are there any early education people out there? Because that seemed like it's the shortest word. And it would have been very easy to be like, to just tell him. But I was like, we should probably learn this thing, especially if he needs to go to bed. He'll definitely really focus on it. You know, there's no other distractions. He knows that it's bedtime. So I was like, and it's also because I did phonics as a kid at my school, but I don't remember it working. Like, isn't that hard? Like, I remember learning the sounds words made, right? And I remember phonics being like a big deal. We had a whole class called phonics. And I'm like, well, how else do you teach reading without people just know what it means? Like I remember learning like A, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, but it's not all the time. Like he had the word pile. And it's like, well, how do you say it? Pile. And then, well, I is I, you know, but not today. So figure that out. Pile. P-I. And I just started saying when there's an E behind it, you just say what the letter is. And I'm sure that's going to work all the time. You know? Time. T-I. I mean, I guess it might work. Maybe that is the rule. I don't know. So we're reading, and it's not fun read. Like I'll read books to him, and that's fun because then I get a story too. But when it's just like each word, I'm grateful that I get to be here for this part because when he does know how to read, it's going to mean more. I just kind of wish I don't wish he just knew. But it is, I feel like when they're babies, right? When kids are babies, someone has to change their diaper. It just has to happen. Someone has to clean them. And I think I accepted that. And it was pretty simple. Maybe I'm just not a teacher, you know? I'm just kind of a doer, right? Like I could, I don't know what the parallel is between changing a diaper and reading. I mean, I could read to him, but that's not I wouldn't mind doing it forever. Like reading, get audiobooks, but I don't even think reading, you're going to want to know some reading. Like, I don't think there's any way around it. So we read and then we were up just to the normal time. All of my focus and energy was like, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. You know why? Because I was in New York this weekend. New York, I don't know if it's the greatest. Your city is the greatest city, whatever city you're in. Thanks for being here. By the way, episode 58 of I Just Got My Kid to Sleep. We're taking a little sabbatical from doing it right after my kid goes to sleep because I haven't figured out how to put him to bed like a real adult. So, and I'm not going to feel bad anymore because I still want my time with him to be joyous. And I'm not going to do that because I don't, I'm not, if you do that, I'm not saying that it's bad. I just feel like then he just lays in bed and doesn't go to sleep because he's sad for a little while, which sad's okay. Anyways, I'm not a perfect father. I do a podcast after my kid goes to sleep sometimes. So I was in New York and, my cousin invited me, I think I talked about last week, to be I was nominated as a trailblazer at her elementary school, which is like someone who's done something that no one in their family has done. And my cousin, her mom was like, usually it's an immigrant. And I was like, that's fine. I don't have to do it. But I got picked. They picked me. That's what the power of television is. I was talking to my aunt who was like a teacher, a public school teacher for her whole adult career. And she was like, why did they pick you? I was like, yeah, I don't know. I was on Letterman. So I was a trailblazer and I was a little nervous about the show because what I do, most of my shows are not for elementary schools. Some kids will watch it online, and that's fine. But I just wasn't expecting. I never know what to expect, right? So, and I was told by the school that at first it was just like we're gonna do this thing, and then there were questions they were gonna ask, which is great. And then one of the teachers was like, hey, can you make fun of the sport teams that the teacher likes, and I'm like, I couldn't really do it because I don't know. I just feel like I don't like making fun of people. Also, whenever someone who's not a comedian tells you something to make fun of, even if they're right, it's just sort of like, you don't know my life, like you don't know my job. I don't go into your classroom and be like, hey, here's how you teach kids to read. Just stick on the word he forever until you get it. Oh yeah, back to reading. So what I tried to do, and this didn't work, I was like, the word heat, right? Try saying the word heat, right? He was like, heat, okay? And I was like, all right, heat, what does heat begin with? And then he would do H and then T. I was like, all right, now just take off the T. And he was like, heat. I was like, no. Say the whole word heat, but with no T at the end. He was like, all right, heat. I was like, no. And I kept being like, but in a happy way. Like, didn't your teachers cover that? Like, I kind of a little bit feel like I should have been given some sort of heads up, like either like, hey, it's kindergarten. We're going to expect them to know how to read. We're going to give them reading time. If they're not interested in reading, we're going to hold it against you as a parent, but we're not going to really go over this stuff. Or they could have been like, we're going to go over it, but some kids, it just takes a lot of time and we just want you to contribute to that. That's what I would have like been like, them being like, hey, be a part of this. Also, no, it's going to suck, and not like suck as I get to hang out with my son, but it's not going to be like we're just moving through words, because you could just move through words. He said that one of his teachers, when he's stuck on a word, she's like, we'll just skip it. And that's nice. That's easy for that teacher to say because Jack's going to be gone in 2 months or whatever. Yeah, just skip the word that's hard. I don't want to stick on this word. Listen, I've played tic-tac-toe with this kid. We learned how to play tic-tac-toe for like an hour. I can handle sticking on heat. So we did heat, and I was like, E. That's what's hard. That's the thing that I think people get stuck on, which I don't know who it's for. It's definitely harder probably for the kid, but for the people teaching the kid, it's like, all right, what does an H make? And, all right, what does an E make? Okay, but not here. Okay, so just say the letter. So you know how E makes a letter sound like itself, like in pile or game, right? So E here also makes itself sound like itself when it's at the end. We'll just go with that rule until it's wrong. What is up with our language? So I was like, I feel like every so often, every couple weeks, I'm with my son and I'm like, I think this is what people who wrote like E.T. and movies about aliens discovering our culture just thought back to. Every child is like a little alien that knows nothing about our world except what they perceive, and you teach them. And we forget it every day because they pretend so well. They walk around, have little conversations. They say cute things. We went to an indoor playground yesterday and they're like, do you need socks with the little grippies on them? He's like, I have those on. And everyone felt like, what a genius thing to say. It was so funny and he was excited and it was so cute. But really, he knows like 10% of what we know about common stuff. And I'd say that's an overestimate, 10%. And it's like my job to teach. I feel like when they're babies, they can't talk yet. So I can't really teach them much. They just pick it all up. Anyway. And I don't want to push reading because I love reading and I want him to have a good experience reading. I don't want any stress about reading because he was wondering if he would get to go on to first grade. And I'm like, I Googled it from like, do first graders know how to read? And it's like a lot of first graders don't know how to read. Now, I can't do that Google search every year, but, that's the good thing that I won't tell him about. But if it did get to the point where he's not reading in first grade at all, we could do first grade again. And I think if you're going to do one again, I'd say kindergarten or first grade is probably the best one because then you're just older, right? So everything you do, you're a year older, and that's great for sports, which maybe not be a priority for him. But I was always younger, not to brag. So we're learning he. And I'm trying to get him to do it himself, because I could just tell him that the word he is he. I could be like, he. And he'd be like, he. And he's such a good job at pretending that I'd be like, oh, he's got he, And then we go to he the next time and he'd be like, I don't. And I'd be like, oh, I did all the work. I didn't teach you how to fish. I fished. Stop fishing. That's got to be like, I got to put that on a paper. Tape it on my wall. Just put stop fishing. Maybe part of me, I should be appreciative. I realize this. I mean, you should never be appreciative that your kid can't read. But I can leave a lot of notes to myself about things that he shouldn't know about without worrying about it. Everything's kind of a secret language. Like, I don't know, whatever kids aren't supposed to know about. Maybe kids are listening, and I'm not going to put you in. You don't get to know. You don't get to know what parents want to keep secret from you and why they keep you from reading. No, we're not keeping him from reading. It's weird because Sesame Street's been doing letters. He's been watching Sesame Street from earlier than he was allowed to, Before one, he was sneaking in watching Sesame Street. He wasn't sneaking. I just turned it on, and then we went to his 1-year-old doctor's appointment, and they're like, he can watch TV now. And I was like, oh, good. Hey, buddy, you hear that? Now you get to watch TV. Yeah. No more just staring at my iPhone. That's what I found out. When they give you the baby in the delivery room, they weren't like, hey, no TV until 1. And it wasn't in any of the expecting books because there's a point where you're like waking up with your kid and you're like, feeding them and stuff and they don't know anything. You're watching TV and then it just sort of like, they're just watching TV. And then, not all the time, not for a long time, but it was happening. And then at this 1-year-old appointment, they were like, yep, all right, now you can watch TV. Oh, that I was going to ask when he could do that. And, but I didn't want to seem like too excited. Like, yes. Finally, I can put you here and go away. Not out of the building because I don't want to get in trouble for real. Yeah, watching TV. So, but he's had letters around for a while. And maybe Sesame Street could start doing some phonics. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, I'm like, what's this letter? And he's like, H. And I was like, what sound does that make? And he's like, all right. And I was like, what's this one? E. And he's like, what does that make? And he's like, eh. Pretty much all the vowels. He just goes, eh or ah. And then I got to be like, no, it's E. So we're just going to say it's E. And then I was like, all right, put that together. And then he was like, okay. He was like, E. E. And he didn't hear it. And I get it because I don't hear it either. How does anybody Learn this stuff. If I was a little kid and someone was telling me, all right, say, and then say E, and I was like, E, 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 I'd be like, and then it just turns into a game like E, I feel like maybe people just like, it just clicks in your brain and phonics is just burning time until we figure it out. That's what I got to do. I got to be like, because I'm like, it's not a it's a, it's a, it's not a it's not a, don't hit it so hard. It's a, he, and then he's like, he, and I'm like, yeah. And a little bit of joy rushes into my face until I realize I think I did it for him. Anyway. And then sometimes we split it up. Sometimes I'd be like, all right, I'll do the H, you do the E. And I'm like, and he's like, E. And I'm like, all right, I'll do the E. And he's like, ha, E, ha. And then I try to fit E, ha, E, ha, E. Does that sound like a word to anybody? Ha, E, ha, E, ha, E, ha, E, E, E. Why is this so hard? And that's when I don't know. That's when I assume that there's something that the teachers know that I don't know, which has never really happened. Not that kindergarten teachers don't have like an easy job. I know they go to college for it. My mom was a kindergarten teacher, a lot of respect, but I don't know how they teach people to read. I don't know how to do that. I got to send them a message. That's probably what I got to do. Is send them a message. Not like an email, not like this is a message. Cuz I did get a little bit of a message. They were like one day Jack just didn't want to try and they're like you got to read with him at night, which I was like I don't know if that's going to make him want to try. Anyway, so why I want to get Jack to sleep earlier is because I was like, maybe that's affecting his reading, but maybe not. Maybe it is. I'm like, because maybe he's been learning all this stuff and but he knows all the math. So just don't judge. Anyway, I go to this school and I'm a little nervous because it's a kid's school, elementary school, some might call it. And it's first grade through sixth grade. School number 2. Really good school. Everybody was so nice. And my cousin Lizzie was the best. She interviewed me and I got there though. We got there early and my cousins were there. We took, it was my mom's cousin's daughter's daughter. So we're related. And I had taken the red eye to get there because Jack stayed home from school that day because his stomach hurt and he didn't want to read. No, his stomach hurt. And I was like, all right. And then sometimes the kids get sick and you're like, all right, well, maybe this is nothing, And then you send them to school and you're like, oh, it wasn't nothing, Like he had a stomach thing, which could be like, oh, that's nothing. Or it could be like, don't pass it off on another person. You can send your kid to kindergarten not reading, but you can't send them. So I was like, all right, his stomach hurt. The last time his stomach hurt, I was like, drink some water. And he drank some water and threw it all up. And I was like, then we had to stay home. So I was like, let's just take it easy. We'll stay home. I moved my flight to like 10 p.m., 9:45, but I didn't want to take the time to say that right now. I just felt like that was too long to say. But I said it anyway. So 9:45 p.m. to I gets in like 6 a.m. And so I'm on the red eye, and I get to the airport, and then I drive to my cousin's house. They let me like sort of hang out there and crash there. Always, it's the best. And I get there, and I get this aluminum can of water because that's what I bought at the airport. Like an aluminum can of water. I know you're not supposed to like have deodorant with aluminum in it because you could get something, but that's what the water comes in. So, I don't know. That's what that water came in. I like the spring water. So I walked downstairs after taking a shower, and my other cousin's down there, and she saw the aluminum can, and she was like, "Is that a Coors Light?" And I was like, I just took it right in stride. I was like, I messed up the joke. No, she was like, "Is that a Coors Light?" And I was like, I treat all my shows the same. Whether they're elementary school kids or not, I gotta warm up. No, that was I don't drink before shows. I don't really drink that much at all. Mitch Hedberg used to say drinking was how he warmed up or stretched, something like stretching. Anyway, so we get to the school and there's like, I don't know, maybe like 100 kids. Maybe there's 500. They're all sitting on the floor. Crisscross applesauce, which is the only way you can crisscross these days. I don't understand where the applesauce comes in other than it just rhymes, you know? Because, like, you don't eat applesauce well. It doesn't look like applesauce. It's just a crisscross applesauce. Everyone say crisscross applesauce. And maybe that's what you need for kids. That's probably what it is. It's like we can get them to do whatever we want as long as we put a food that they like for part of their lives in it, you know? Like, everyone stand in line. Stand in line. Red vines. That's candy. Stand in line, red vines. I don't know if you can do candy because they're going to want candy. Anyway, the kids were so funny. They had it was a whole assembly. It was an assembly, right? If you don't remember what an assembly is, where they get the kids together, a whole school. It was the last day before spring break, and they have a little thing for them because so that way the teachers don't have to teach. No, it's not. The teachers are great, but they had a lot of stuff to cover, and I forgot what that age is like because Jack's not that age yet. He's in kindergarten, but he is young, you know. And I used to be that age, but I don't remember ever experiencing anything like this. Like these kids were so amped, you know. And the one thing I did see though, which was like, oh, I gotta get Jack to sleep early. There's like a kid there that was like kind of falling asleep, and I was like, I don't want that to be my kid, you know. But they take a nap at Jack's school, so I kind of do want it at this point. Anyway, so, but while the kids are walking in, there's a screen, and then it's like a presentation screen that they use for every presentation, and the first thing on the screen is this triangle. I'm holding my hand up, but that's not. It's like a triangle, and then there's like 3 lines going vertical, and then 2 horizontal, and they're like, how many triangles do you see? And I was reading it, and it was like it was multiple choice. It was like 4, 8, 14, or something like that. And I'm an adult, you know. I'm a grown up. I minored in math. I'm not bragging, okay? It doesn't even come up on the podcast usually, but I did minor in math, and I was like, I none of the numbers that they had listed were numbers that I thought it was. So I was talking to my cousin Kristen. I was like, here's what I think, and it wasn't even an option. And then the assembly starts, and the teacher's like, all right, anyone want to take guesses on what they think this is? What they think the correct number of triangles is. And the kids are guessing, like one's like 2. I think one guessed a number that was on there, a multiple choice, like 4. One was like, I guess 10. And then the teacher highlighted the answer. And it was something like 24. And everyone it was all like, what? Like everyone went crazy. It was like, there's 24 triangles in that triangle. And everyone's like, wah! Ah! It was like, what? It was so, to see kids invested in this triangle game and stunned by the answer, it seemed like it was scripted. Like they were like, all right, for this, we're going to go crazy. And that was just the way to kickstart it. You know, then they started talking about other stuff that wasn't me. I wasn't paying that much attention. And then I got to my part, and I got to do a Q&A with the kids, and I did a couple of bits. They asked like what my favorite joke was, what my newest joke was, and I opened my newest joke with being like, well, my son's in kindergarten. You guys have kindergartens here, right? And everyone was like, no! And I was like, and I knew there was no kindergarten. That's just a thing I like to do with Jack, is say something that's not true and have him be like, no, Dad. It's just fun for me because usually he knows it's a joke. This morning he didn't know it was a joke. This morning he woke up and I was like, hey, I just have plain Cheerios for you. And he was like, no. And I was like, oh, we should go to bed earlier. I was like, I know you don't. We have other stuff. So we have Fruity Cuties, which are from Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's. Get a mini tote from my website. I don't have a mini tote on my website. But if I did, here's the thing about the mini tote. I don't want to sell it unless it's life-changing money. Okay? I'm not going to go to a grocery store while everyone's waiting in line, do my normal grocery shopping. As I'm checking out, I get the very last one without having to wait in line at all, and then be like, I'm going to make $30 on this. Okay? someone really wants it, they're just going to buy the $30 one. And so I'm just going to keep it for a while. It's pretty cool. Oh, there's some screaming going on. I bet it's happy screaming. It's not nighttime, so they're not like, Michael, be quiet. I think this is a normal volume to speak. So anyways, I do my Q&A. I do some jokes. I'm like, you guys there's kindergartners. And I point kind of at the first graders like, no, we're not kindergartners. I was like, all right, yeah. No kidding. And then easy crisscross applesauce. So then after the show, my cousin Lizzie is like the person of the day, like she gets to have a picture with whoever she wants in the picture with me. And so she gets some classmates and we go to take a picture in front of this like beehive. It's not a real beehive. Don't worry, people. Well, I mean, you could worry. I mean, it could be good to have a beehive, but there's like pictures of beehives and everyone wrote a thing about what they would. I don't read a lot of other things. I do read. But anyway, so we got a picture in front of there, and they start asking the kids what they thought, which I was like, let's not do that. We had people applauded, I got some laughs and I'm good. But they asked some of the kids we were taking a picture with what they thought of the thing. And one of the kids is like, they were like, did you think he was, they literally asked, like, did you think it was funny? And everyone was like, yeah. And then two kids were like, no. I was standing right there, and I think it was the principal. Maybe it was one of the teachers. They were like, oh, did you like Michael? Did you think Mr. Palisak was funny? And everyone's like, yeah. And then two kids were like, no, which is very funny, whether they thought I was funny or not. And also I'm like, yeah, why would you? I'm like a teacher age, and I'm not even the cool teacher. Like everybody in there had their teacher there, and they love their teacher so much. And there was the gym teacher who was like the coolest guy ever. I'm not better than any of those people when it comes to their lives or in real life. Probably they're educators, So that was fun to sort of get brought down to earth, but I'm not going to pay attention to that. That's what they tell you when you're a comedian, when you're living life out there, is like when you're putting yourself out there. You don't look at the people who don't like what you do, who aren't into it. Like if I'm doing a show for 100 people and there's one table of 2 people who aren't laughing, it's very easy for me to look at them and be like, they don't like, I'm going to do this show to them until they laugh forever and ever. And I think that's it's a trap. Watch out. That's a trap because you don't know what they went through. You don't know their perspective. Also, there's the fact that pretty much every person in the world has their own preferences. And even though you can make generally everybody smile or chuckle or laugh, they might choose not to. And I don't think you can stop that. They used to have those game shows or whatever, like Make Me Laugh and stuff. And I was like, well, I think it works because when you're trying not to laugh, it's hard to try not to laugh. But I think it also wouldn't work because you can just think about sad stuff, and just, I think the easiest way not to laugh is to, like imagine all things that you might not like about a person and them having those qualities, and also maybe like being jealous of something they have. I don't know why this information is helpful. It's not, but that's what I would do if I was trying to win that. But then also that's not very fun. And I think fun's over all, which is why these Trader Joe's totes are so valuable, because they're fun. They're small and not really useful. What does this fit? One sandwich? But they're fun. I think the colors are better this year. Mint green, I like it a lot better. Like I thought that possibly when I heard that it was already a thing, that the last year's might be better. But I saw this year's compared, and I was like, this is the flamingo. He wasn't really on camera, so I'm moving him. So I was like, they're not gonna sell as well. But then I saw the colors from last year. I was like, these are better. These are more Eastery. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but yeah, I'm gonna put something mini in it. Something minier than the mini tote. Maybe I'll give it to someone as like a gift who really likes it. Who like they have all the colors except that was the last color left. So I kind of feel like it's not as valuable, but maybe it is the most valuable if I'm really lucky. Anyway, Wouldn't that be a funny way to like make your fortune? Like, how are things, Michael? Well, everything was going fine, but then I sold this mini tote for so much money. I invested it, and then my career just took off. So there you go. So anyway, I did the Q&A. It was really fun. And then they had what was really interesting too at the school, it was the most fun school, but they had like a lot of events at this assembly, and I got to be a part of every event, which I'm someone who, when I leave the stage, I'm like, that's good. That's done. But it looked like fun. So I definitely joined in. But the kids were not as excited for me as they were their teachers. Like, we did this bowling thing, which I almost won. I got a 9, and the only other teacher that got a 10, like a strike, was the guy that looked like he was a bowler. And then we did a trivia thing, which I contributed to my team, and we won that too. I didn't get any prizes. But it was very fun. The principal, the teachers, my cousin. I highly recommend that school. Like, I'm trying to find a school for my son next year because we live in a big city and he can kind of attend a lot of different places. And if I could find something as great as number 2 JA, I think is what it's called, then I would send him there in a second. I have not seen kids that age so joyous. I think part of it's because it's first grade through 6th grade. So you don't have those kindergartners like slowing things down. And you don't have those 7th and 8th graders being like, you got the peak, the prime of educational joy. Like, we're not almost done with school. We're not just starting. We know what we're doing, but we're not tired of it. And I think that was a good move by that school district. Anyway, I did that. And then I did a show in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So that's why I want my kid to get sleep, because I saw a kid was sleepy at the assembly, and I was like, oh, maybe I said that already. I covered this. I covered it. So then I did 2 shows in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which I drove like 5 hours, both ways. And I realized that I can do it because I stopped on the way and I was really tired, and I just laid in my car and closed my eyes and I fell asleep for like 10 minutes. And it was kind of scary though, because I woke up and I was in the parking lot. I fell asleep. It was just like my car. And then I woke up and there was a car facing me in the parking lot, and like the front was facing my front. And when I first woke up, I was like, oh, I fell asleep while driving, and now I'm going the wrong way in traffic, which that's stronger than coffee. Like, I was ready to drive. I didn't get sleepy for like 10 hours. Like, I did this. I drove there for like 3 more hours, did 2 shows, drove all the way back, and was totally fine. And then on the way home, it was raining. And I had a Chevy Malibu, and I don't blame Malibu for this, but I did rent from Avis in JFK. And this isn't a super positive thing, so I shouldn't mention the brand. But my tires were I was like sliding all over there, Oh no, that's sad. I was sliding all over that highway. Like, not literally, but it felt like I could. Like, I was losing traction a little bit. And I'm not a big car guy. So I was like, well, what can I do here? So I pulled over on the way home, and I was like, let's check this out. And I Googled how to tell if your tires are bald. And one of them talked about this penny. This is the advice tip part of the show. I know it's a little late for the tip part of the show. Here's a tip in the late part of the show. But what you do is, here's what every time you travel and you're going to rent a car, I would carry a penny. Rental car companies should have pennies. Always have a penny in your pocket. Penny. Because you can stick it in the treads of your tire, right? This penny is not a good example because the face is almost worn off, but not really. And you hold it upside down. The face is worn off. I think you can do the Google search, but I'm going to take up the time anyway. And you hold it upside down in the tread. And if it covers Abraham Lincoln's face, then you're fine. That means it's deep enough if it covers this face. But if it doesn't, if you put it in there and you can see all of Abraham Lincoln's beautiful mane of hair in a copper version on a penny, then your tires are bald. And I put it in there and you could pretty much see all the hair. So what I'm going to do this weekend, or next time I travel or I'm renting a car, I'm going to take a penny with me and I'm going to put it in the tire. And so when they give me the car, if it doesn't do that, I'm going to trade out cars. Because I was in the middle of, New Hampshire or Connecticut, and it was raining, and I'd slid a little bit, and I tried to call the company, and they just hung up on me. It was a computer, but still I took it personally. And I was like, well, I could just wait here until I call again, or I could just drive back. I drove back. I drove very slowly, and for the interstate, and I made it back, and I was fine. But if I had brought this, I could just get a different car. There's the pad. So you put it down like this. Yeah, you can see it really clearly. And if it covers it, that means it's long enough. That means it's deep enough. But if you don't see any, that means the tires are not going to handle water very well, and it's not safe to drive in. So that's the thing. That is. So, but then I drove back to New York, and I drove back to New York because I had a show in New Jersey Saturday night. But during the day, I went to go see Glenn Ross, and Bill Burr signed my playbill. That's what it's called. Other people were signing, but I had to leave to go to my show before they came out. And also, Bill Burr is a comedian, and I support comedians exclusively over all other people. No, Bill Burr, if you don't know, you probably do. I'm not going to even explain. But he's a comedian, very famous, very, very funny. And he's at Glengarry Glen Ross on Broadway. Glengarry Glen Ross is a play about salesmen. It was a little challenging because Bill was really, really funny in it. And I really liked that. I realized watching it that I think the goal of every play should be funny, even if it's serious. Because it's a serious play about people who are like pretty not really good people, trying to take advantage of people by selling them land that's not really worth anything. And it was like hard to really root for them because you wanted them to make sales, but also you didn't want people to be taken advantage of, which I guess that's a sign of good literature when there's a strong argument for rooting for each side. Someone told me that one time. Spike Lee, he didn't tell just me. It was like in a video, it's Masterclass, where he's like, I think it was him. He was like, the goal of every scene in every movie should be to show you why each person is right. And there's no winner. Like, you can understand why this guy's right, and you can also understand why this guy's right. And that's like a good movie, because then you have to struggle with this idea of who's right, what ideal is more important. Is it more important for this guy to make the sale, or is it more important for but when they're all bad guys for the most part, it's like, well, it was just kind of sad at some points. But the actors are really good, and the show is really good, and especially Bill Burr is really funny. And that's what I realized is like, I feel like I liked his part the most because I think it was like maybe the funniest part, but also he's a comedian, and my friend was like, it was just kind of written for him, even though it wasn't. It's just kind of good casting, and he's a really good actor. So that's my review. It's really good. Yeah, and it's very special. We stayed downtown. I stayed downtown. My roommate from college came into, and there's like a really nice Spring Hill Suites right by Times Square. We'd walk to the show, and then we drove to New Jersey for a show. Probably one of my favorite venues of 2025 so far. I would say it's the Boonton Coffee Company in Boonton, New Jersey. I still haven't found out if that's how you say it, but I'd say that's been my favorite place to perform so far this year. First off, they have donuts that I think they make in-house. That's a weird reason to like a place, but that was really good. They had a toast, a Nutella fruit toast. Are you kidding? That's exactly what I wanted after coming from Glengarry Glen Ross. And then the show was like packed out, perfect for comedy, perfect experience. Everyone seemed happy. Everyone was like, it was really, 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 really nice. So you can probably only experience it if you're there, but if you have a chance to see me there, I would recommend it. And then Sunday I woke up and I went to Palm Sunday Mass, and I went to this church, and usually I'm late, and I'm like, I don't know, because you just don't know where things are or whatever. And it was supposed to start at noon. It didn't start till 12:15, and I was like, they're late? I guess it's making up for all the times I was late. Like, I feel like I paid back all the time I was waiting. So I went to that, and then I drove to Stamford, Connecticut for a matinee show, which I think I'm going to start doing Sunday matinees now, because it's just the same as a Sunday night one, but I got to fly out afterwards. And then I flew home, and it was great. So that was this week. That was that weekend. Tomorrow I go to San Jose for the San Jose Improv tomorrow night, not a matinee. And then Thursday I'm in Tracy, California, at a place that's in Tracy. I can't imagine there being a lot of venues in a town that I don't know, but there could be. But it's in like a theater there. And then next week I'm in Brea, California, at the Brea Improv. So super excited about that. And then I go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then Ridgeway, Colorado, and Montrose, Colorado just got added. So if you're in the small rural Southwest Colorado area, we have 2 shows in cities that have less than 50,000 people. So check it out. Yeah, it'll be fun. We're not done yet. I haven't really decided if the podcast should be done when it's done. Like when I feel like it's done. Like if I were writing like if you go see Glenn Ross, when it's over, this is the feeling I had. And this is probably what good literature things, good written things are. When it was over, I didn't expect it to be over. Also, I didn't want it to be over. But when it was over, I was like, oh, that's when it's over. And when it began, I didn't expect it to begin that way. I didn't really even know that it was beginning. But I was like, oh, that's all I needed to know. Really? Like, I think good, well-written stuff is like they tell you just what you need to know, but you don't even notice it until it's over. You just feel like you're watching life, I guess. And I don't even know if that's what life is like because I don't really watch. You can watch reality TV, but that's kind of edited. Everything's kind of edited. Yeah, I think this is the closest thing to life. Just me desperately talking to a camera and microphone that I purchased in hopes of selling tickets and sharing my life and connecting with others. So yeah, I did start watching reality TV this week because I watched, after watching Glenn Ross the play, I watched the movie on the way home, and not to compare because I didn't want to compare, and I don't think you can. I did think though, because like I sat in the lower part of the play, but not super close. Like I was in row R, which if you added up, I don't know how many like double letters there were, so maybe like row 20. We could count it later. But part of the play before like I really got into it, I was like, I wish I could just see like a close up edited with like I wish this was a movie. It was fun live though. And everyone looked so happy to do the show live. Like at the end when all the actors came out, I was like, they love this so much because they're partially, I think being in a play is better than a movie because once you do it, you're just done. You just do the play and then you're done with that play. And then you can do another one, another show. Whereas like in a movie, you're like just shooting the whole thing, all the scenes over and over and over again. And then they get to hear us laugh, and it was a really good crowd, I felt like. And the applause is nice. Afterwards, people are so grateful. There's just like an energy. Live entertainment is where it's at. I don't think it's ever been more well attended, probably. But I watched the movie because I was it was like a 6-hour flight, and I was like, I should see the movie too because I'd never seen it. And the movie was really good too, but it was also kind of like, all these characters are pretty bad. Not badly acted or badly written, just like not nice people. And, I struggle with it morally. I don't want to feel bad all the time. So then I got home and I was like, going to watch something while I ate dinner. Because, what are you going to do? Just eat? And I turned on Disney Plus because I usually watch The Simpsons. But like House Hunters came up and I was like, let's watch that. And I watched an episode of House Hunters. And it was like a man and a husband and wife. And they were in Knoxville. It was an old episode, I'm sure. They're all old now. I don't even know if it's on there. And they were looking for a house, and they looked at 3 houses, and they all had little things they wanted, and they disagreed on little things. And in the end, they like picked a house together. And they didn't even show like the real choice. They were just like debating it, and then they come back from commercial, and they're like in the house they chose. And I was like, what a happy show. What a like at the end of, 22 minutes, you're going to see someone in a new home. You're not buying a new house on TV with someone that's on the way out. Like maybe, I don't know their relationship, but they seemed happy. And so go see Glenn Ross and then watch some House Hunters. But then I watched one where it was like a mom and her daughter, and that was a little bit like less happy. So I think I just want happy. Oh, I forgot to mention, my show in Montrose, Colorado, this is interesting, is in the Historic Potato Growers Building. So if you're looking for it, don't go to the normal Potato Growers Building. Go to the Historic Potato Growers Building in the association. It's a bar. All right, before we get out of here, I got to update everybody. How long did it last? How long did it last? We still have a little bit left for those who haven't followed for the last 3 weeks. This is week 3. We made it through, I believe, 3 weeks. So it was the last Tuesday in March, and then the first Tuesday, which was that one. And then I think this is the third. I don't know, really. I think it's made 3 weeks, and there's still a little bit left. So I'll keep everybody updated. And then we just started this one, Meyer's Clean Day Dish Soap. Just started yesterday. We're going to do a how long did it last from April, whatever. So we're going to going to get these yellow sticky notes going, and we're going to track how long things last. And, maybe it's just for entertainment value, but I can also look up the price and like if this lasts 3 weeks about, right, and it's $10, how many 3 weeks are in a year? 1,000. So no, 52 weeks in a year. 52 divided by 3 is, that's over 3 times 10 is 30. 3 times 20 is 60. This isn't entertaining. So it's between 10 and 20 weeks. 3 times 15 is 3 times 15, 45. So it's between 15 and 20. 3 times, I'll look it up. I should know how to do this. I was in math. Now I have to do it. Now I just have to do it. Okay. 52 divided by 3 to 7, a little more than 17 remainder 1 weeks. 17 weeks in 1 day? I don't think that's right. Between 17 and 18 weeks. No, 17 and 18 bottles of these. There are 17 sets of these. So you're going to end up spending they're $11, $177 a year on your contact lens solution. So add that into the price of your contacts, and that's your real price. That's what this moment is about. What's your real price? Oh, here are your contacts. They're $150. Yeah, but contact lens solution is $11 a bottle. So it's really that plus $177. That seems important. Anyway, super excited to go to the Historic Potato Growers Building in Montrose, Colorado. Just got added. May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. I'm excited for Easter this weekend. I always get a little bit anxious around the holidays because I want it to be so special. We talked about that, but I think it will be. I'm just going to let go and let Easter be itself. We got some good solid situations. If you live in LA, the Griffith Park train rides are on, where they have these eggs hidden around the little train ride. It's like a 10-minute train ride. You get a little checklist. It's a special thing, especially for the kindergartner, first grade. If you can find that triangle problem online, show it to your, kindergarten through sixth graders, first grade, and just see how they react. All right. I made it. I'm just going to stop now. I'm not going to stop when it was over. It was probably over 20 minutes ago, maybe 45 minutes. But, welcome. This has been 58. Thanks for the new viewers, new watchers. You guys, don't start at the beginning of one. They grow. I'll catch you up. Always be closing. Thank you. I just got to stop. I'm going to press stop now. That's how I'm going to end the podcast. The end.